The show follows the protagonist Jisoo, a young woman who works in an ad agency where she is well liked by her coworkers. They know her as a hardworking and caring woman who always goes out of her way to help everyone. This has made her a really popular figure in the organization. However, they are unaware that their sweet coworker is a grade A manipulator who has tricked them into liking her. One day while going to get a regular coffee, Jisoo gets asked out by a young barista named Jiho. What the naive barista doesn't know is that Jisoo has had her eyes on him since the first time they met. She is a passionate woman and will pursue any man who catches her gaze, but instead of showing him that she's interested, she kept subtly attracting his attention until he began to like her. Now that her plan has come to success, she pretends to be surprised and agrees to go out with him, even though she has a boyfriend. Jisoo uses her manipulations not only on Jiho, but also on her boss Taeho. Since Taeho is a work-oriented man unlike the sunny barista, Jisoo appeals to him by pretending to be a hard worker who is always one step ahead of her colleagues. Acting sweet and reliable, she succeeds in making him ask her out as well. Not caring about all the other men she's associated with, she happily agrees to go out with him. But before her date with Taeho, she shows courtesy enough to break it up with her current boyfriend. Being straightforward with her feelings, she tells her boyfriend that she has a crush on someone else. He is heartbroken, but she doesn't seem to care. The next day, Jisoo and Taeho go to a bar for some drinks and talk about their lives and interests until the bar closes. They have a good time and figure out by the end of the night that they get along very well. Taeho is in a very good mood the next day, even giving out smiles in the meeting room because of Jisoo's antics. Everyone in the room is shocked since Taeho is always cold and aloof, never caring for anything other than work. No one has ever even seen him smile until today. All the employees gossip behind his back, but Jisoo doesn't care, as she is too busy flirting with Jiho through text. Jiho is supposed to be attending his college farewell party, but unexpectedly he gets tempted because of Jisoo's flirty text and ditches the party to come to her office. She is pleasantly surprised to see him standing in front of her office building and decides not to pass up this opportunity to flirt. The scene goes back in time to Jisoo's high school days to show that she has always been entangled with many men. She is a school heartthrob who has boys fighting for her attention every day. She loves all the attention and is happy to see men fighting over her. Her popularity has never given her any trouble, and she is good at maintaining friendships as well. We are then introduced to her best friend Hyunwoo, who she met during her time in school. Back in the present he's a police officer, and their friendship is still strong after many years. On their days off, Jisoo and Hyunwoo visit a comic cafe to hang out. He knows all about her habit of dating and throwing away men at will, but even then he has still been nursing a secret crush for her for over 10 years. He disapproves of her lifestyle, but is still willing to hear the stories about her misadventures. Jisoo hides nothing from him, as he is the only one who knows her true self. She shows him pictures of both Taeho and Jiho, asking him to choose between the two of them because she herself is confused. When Hyunwoo refuses to help, Jisoo in turn refuses to tell him her decisions. In the end, she decides to date both of them at the same time. The day after confirming their relationship, Taeho and Jisoo are both very happy, but they cannot make the relationship public at work. When Jisoo and her team almost mess up at a meeting, Taeho still acts like her boss and reprimands her. But once everyone else leaves the room, they act like lovers. One time when they are getting all snuggly, an employee suddenly enters the room unannounced. The two of them then fly backwards to separate and act like the boss is scolding his subordinate. Thankfully their acting is good enough for the employee to believe. That night, Taeho drives Jisoo home after work. Jiho keeps calling her, but she can't pick up the phone in front of Taeho, so she makes up a lie about it being a spam caller. The atmosphere inside the car grows heavy as the two of them start making out. Seeing how things are escalating, Taeho wants to go to her apartment, but Jisoo quickly makes up an excuse and makes him drive back after promising to invite him over some other time. The reason why she can't bring Taeho to her apartment is because Jiho is already inside waiting for her. He cooks her a tasty meal and says that he has a surprise for her. Jisoo's curiosity is piqued, but he claims that it's a secret. After Jiho leaves and she retires to her bed, she gets on a call with one of her friends. Her friend warns her about timing, but Jisoo is confident that she won't get caught, because her two boyfriends are neither similar in age or are in the same field of work, so it's impossible for them to know each other. And even if she does get caught, she can just break up with both of them very easily. The next morning, Jisoo's confidence all but crumbles to the floor. She watches in horror as Taeho welcomes the new employee, who turns out to be Jiho. Before Jiho has a chance to act like he knows her, Jisoo wakes up from her trance and drags him to a secluded place with the excuse of having to talk with him as his senior. She tells him that they should keep their relationship a secret for his own good, because she doesn't want others to think that he got his job with his connections. Ji-ho is a little skeptical, but he obediently agrees to her request. But just as she finds that he hasn't signed his work contract yet, she starts dissuading him from working there. She expresses her worries about him joining such a competitive environment straight out of college. But her persuasion has the opposite effect, as he now wants to work there more than ever so that he can help Jisoo with her work and lessen her burden. Before this, she never lied to any of her boyfriends and was always true to herself. Hyunwoo is worried about her, and he says so. She takes his words to heart and heads to the office, where more trouble is awaiting her. She has been screwing up work these last few days, and her carelessness has caused a great emergency for her team. Adding on to the work problems, Taeho suspects Ji-ho has feelings for Jisoo, so he tells her to draw a clear line between the two of them. Ji-ho is also slowly becoming aware of the ambiguous atmosphere between Jisoo and Taeho. Both of them are jealous, and they turn hostile towards each other. After a long day of solving problems at work, the three of them go for a round of drinks, setting aside their differences for now. As the conversation suddenly shifts to their girlfriends, Jisoo feels her stomach start hurting again. She can't endure the overwhelming guilt, so she blurts out the truth about two-timing them. Of course the two men don't take it well, especially Ji-ho, who thought he was experiencing his first real relationship. Jisoo knows that the right thing to do is to now let them vent and curse at her, but she can't handle her stomach ache anymore. After giving a sincere apology, she rushes back home to lie down on her bed. Things are incredibly awkward at the office the next day. Taeho and Ji-ho are set on ignoring her as much as possible. It's the first time she's felt heartbroken after a relationship ended. She likes the two of them equally and wholeheartedly, but she is ready to accept any decision they make. While the two men go to a bar to discuss their feelings, Jisoo joins Hyunho at a local restaurant and pours out her frustration. Seeing her so low, he feels bad, so he gives her a few comics as a gift. She's happy to receive them, but they're not enough to distract her. Right at that moment, she gets a call from Ji-ho, who asks her to meet outside. Thinking he's going to break up with her, Jisoo lifelessly walks away from the restaurant to meet him, but to her surprise, Taeho is also present at the spot. They are not there to break up with her, but to ask her to continue to date both of them. But they have a condition. She must choose one of them at the end of their 2-month project. Jisoo is overjoyed to hear this, and she readily agrees. All this time, Hyunho is waiting for her to come back to the restaurant, but she never picks up his calls. The next day is the most relaxing day Jisoo has had in a while. The two men try their best to court her, and don't miss any opportunity to flirt with her. While basking in the attention of her boyfriends, Jisoo suddenly remembers Hyunho, and how she left him hanging the other day. She hurriedly texts him between meetings, and tells him to come to her office to pick her up after work. She has a lot to talk to him about. Hyunho agrees even though he feels increasingly frustrated by her these days. Jisoo has always been like this. She always makes plans with him before promptly ditching him to hang out with other boyfriends. However, he's in love with her, so he's helpless against her selfish request. When night falls, he makes his way to pick her up, but right in front of her office, he sees her laughing with Taeho and Ji-ho, and he suddenly can't bear it anymore. He needs to stay away from Jisoo if he wants to keep himself from getting hurt. So that night, he severs his friendship with Jisoo. Jisoo is deeply saddened by his words, so much so that her sadness is even felt over the phone. Worried about her, Taeho and Ji-ho rush to her apartment at once in order to comfort her. The three of them watch horror movies and play games all night. Jisoo is having so much fun that she wishes the three of them would stay together this way forever. But while her two boyfriends go to sleep, her mind once again diverts to Hyunho, who has not contacted her in a week. The next few days she tries her best to enjoy her time with her boyfriends, but she can't help but compare them to Hyunho. She realizes that no one in her life can take his place. One night, she has a dream where she is walking with Taeho and Ji-ho by her side. It's a pleasant day until she sees Hyunho meeting a woman and walking away with her. Jisoo jolts out of her nightmare and has a sudden realization. She runs to Hyunho's apartment still wearing her pajamas and starts banging on his door. He is startled to see her at his doorstep and is even more shocked when she suddenly leans in to plant a kiss on his lips. He is left speechless. By the time he comes back to his senses, Jisoo is already on her way back to her own apartment. He refuses to let her leave without giving him answers, so he chases after her. When he confronts her about the kiss, she confesses that she likes him, and for a moment, he's on cloud 9. He says that he likes her too and asks her to date him, but he refuses to be like Taeho and Ji-ho and asks her to break up with them first. After all this, Jisoo is still indecisive. possessive. She doesn't want to break up with her boyfriends because she likes them too. Hyunho understands her better than anyone else but can't help but feel disappointed. How can he expect to be simple lovers with Jisoo of all people? So he parts ways with her, perhaps forever. Jisoo is so depressed that she skips work the next day and refuses to contact anyone. Taeho and Jiho try to get in touch with her throughout the day, but she neither replies to their texts, nor does she pick up their calls. Worried sick, they go to her home after work, but she's not there. Taeho tries to call her one last time, when unexpectedly, the call connects and she picks up her phone. She doesn't speak, but he can hear the sound of glass shattering before she ends the call. Taeho is immediately alarmed that something bad has happened to her. Jiho proposes that they should first check the restaurant where she frequents, and the two run to her rescue. At this time, Jisoo is at her favorite restaurant doing shots of alcohol, thinking about how her relationship with Hyunho has suddenly gone sour. While she's trying to drink her misery away, she unexpectedly runs into her ex-boyfriend, who she dumped last month before she started dating Taeho and Jiho. He still hasn't forgiven her for what she did, and feels satisfied to see her misery. She tries to apologize again, but he yells that he doesn't want her apology. Because of her, he now has a hard time trusting people, and will probably never be able to fully trust any woman in the future. As he is letting out his frustrations, Taeho and Jiho finally find her and run to protect her from the man. At first, the two are hostile towards Jisoo's ex, but when the man takes it further with his insults, the hostility escalates into a physical fight. Jisoo desperately tries to stop them, but she's helpless. Thankfully, Hyunho turns out to be heading to the same restaurant, so he quickly breaks up the fight, with the help of his fellow police officer. Someone secretly records their fight, and the video explodes on the internet overnight. The next day, Taeho and Jisoo are immediately called to the director's office, where he harshly reprimands them. Taeho loses his spot as leader of their project, and Jisoo is made the new impromptu leader. Furthermore, the director orders them to fire Jiho right away. Jisoo is flooded with guilt. Even if Taeho consoles her by saying that it's not her fault, she knows that everything is a result of her two-timing. The next day, she makes up her mind to break up with both Taeho and Jiho. She cannot bear to see the two men she loves suffering because of her brash choices, so it's better to let them go. The two men are heartbroken and so is Jisoo, but they decide to move forward. After breaking up with them, Jisoo goes immediately to talk with the director. It involves a lot of begging and convincing, but she manages to make him reinstate Taeho as the leader of the team and saves Jiho from being fired. The three of them work together to finish the project. Jisoo works especially hard, and in a blink of an eye, the project is completed and is a success. While the team is celebrating, Jisoo also thinks that it's a good ending for both the project and her relationships. That day, she quietly turns in her letter of resignation and walks away to find a new beginning. The scene skips to a few months later. Jisoo has found a new job and her life is flourishing. Among all the good things, she is happiest about her relationship with Hyunho. He loves her the way she is, and she loves the way he is easily able to understand her. They spend their time together acting sickeningly sweet in front of their friends, and playing around in Jisoo's apartment. The story ends at a park where Hyunho lets go of Jisoo's hand with a smile, letting her leave with another man. He accepts everything about Jisoo, even her fickle feelings of affection. He knows Jisoo can't live without him, and he can't live without her, so he feels satisfied with this kind of open relationship. The series is over. Thank you for your attention. Goodbye and see you in the next videos.